And let's just start with you, Kate, and then go around and just tell us quickly who you are, who you're associated with, and a little bit about what you did that got you connected to the event here today. Is that okay?
Hello, my name is Kate Arnold. I'm a senior undergraduate student at the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. I'll be graduating in December. I got involved with GIS and data analytics through my thesis project, which is analyzing how Hurricane Florence has impacted gentrification in New Hanover County.
My name is Michael Denise. I recently graduated UNC Asheville with my Bachelor of Science degree in Environmental Studies. Before I came to NCDIT to work as a GIS story mapper, I worked as a writing coach at Asheville High. It's a pleasure to be here.
Hi, I'm William Chen. I'm a sophomore at Carey Academy. I was fortunately allowed the opportunity to compete in the NC Datathon by my history teacher, Dr. Coven, and I had an amazing time there.
Hi, my name is Angelica Wong. I'm a rising senior at Carey Academy, and I also competed at Datathon along with William. And that was also a great experience and honestly opened my eyes to the world of data analytics.
Hold on to the microphone because I'm going to start if I can. Let me back up here. The first thing I wanted to ask you all, and Angelica, just to start with you, is how did the experience you have, in particular with Datathon, help you to see new ways to identify, analyze, or solve state problems or regional problems using data? And what are some of the opportunities you saw as a part of that experience? Thinking about Datathon in particular, but anything more general that might come to mind as well.
So honestly, before Datathon, I didn't understand how the government used data analytics within policymaking. I didn't realize that there was data science opportunities within the government, and I think participating in Datathon helped me realize how data is used to make policies and additionally make decisions in order to help and change people's lives.
So tell them a little bit about the project that you guys worked on for Datathon.
All right, so the theme for this year's Datathon was understanding how out-of-school programs affect students' outcomes. And so we were given a bunch of data on locations of after-school programs as well as student test scores and economic statuses of students in different counties. And so what William and I's project was we incorporated all this data and created this data visualization that helped us identify trends and patterns to see how after-school programs actually affect schools and which schools it actually affected. And what we were able to realize was how after-school programs are only effective in, at least from our data, it showed that after-school programs are only effective in schools with lower economic status students, where there were a higher percentage of students with free and reduced lunch. And so hopefully in the future, that might be able to influence decisions on where to fund these after-school programs.
Thanks, Angelica. I'm going to actually turn to William next. I'll just go in order along the podium here. So let's follow up on that, William, and talk about something a little more broadly. Thinking again about your experience with Datathon, working on the team, but also more generally working with data. What are some of the, when you think about the future of data analysis, and that's both for you personally as a potential analyst, but also for the state more broadly, like Angelica was indicating, what are some of the things that you're most excited about or that you think are most promising ahead? What do you see?
Well, I suppose on the state level, North Carolina is still growing, right? There's a bunch of institutions that are doing like state-of-the-art research, like Duke, SAS, UNC. And so what I'm particularly excited about is being able to use data analysis as a means to continue growing these industries, these local industries, and promoting, economic growth. For example, say you're like a park manager or something, maybe you want to analyze how accessible your park is, how much public transportation is available in your area. I feel like data analysis is very applicable to situations like these, whether it be at the state level or even at the local level, as I previously mentioned.
Let me put you a little bit on the spot while I got you here, too. What originally got you interested in working with data?
If I'm being honest,
yeah.
I was a freshman. I was kind of lost in what I really wanted to do. My teacher was just like, this is an opportunity that's available. If you really want to do it, I recommend it. I did it for fun. Honestly, when I came there, I thought I was just doing 2 days of math. But as I worked, as I met these really interesting people from all these organizations, as I met some really smart students, I found that it was a really enjoyable experience and really made me rethink what I wanted to do in the future.
Are you saying that Datathon itself was the hook? Was that the first experience like that?
It was first experience with data science, yeah, definitely.
Okay. Well, another really important reason for us to continue to support that opportunity. Let me pass over to Michael Denise here and ask you a couple questions too. You had a different experience. You have been an intern at the department, right? With which department?
NCDIT.
Yes. At DIT, who are you working with?
I'm working with CGIA. So Colleen, Kylie, and Tim.
Yeah, every now and then when I'm in the office, Colleen sits right across from me, so it's nice to put some names with faces. Tell me a little bit about your challenges that you faced in working as an intern.
Yes, so my job is basically to interview many of the state agencies, interview their GIS specialists and their GIS teams, if they have a team, and really get an idea of how GIS is being used in the state, where we are and where we can go, where we would like to go. And so as I'm writing these articles, sometimes I'll be talking to a team of people, sometimes it's just a one-man shop. But a common theme that I've seen as a challenge in GIS technology is retrieving data. So there's a lot of different places that data can be. There's a lot of different formats it can be in, different agencies, departments, divisions that it can be in. And so really hunting down that data can be a bit of a challenge. But as we continue to do that, as we move forward, and instead of relying on spreadsheets, as we continue to build this foundational data set through GIS, it's becoming more centralized, it's becoming more accessible, and that makes it a lot more efficient in these newer projects. Instead of spending all of this time finding resources, it's all within arm's reach. And so that's been really nice. Another issue that I see a lot, and kind of a conversation that we continue to have across these different agencies, is funding could be better in the GIS world. Getting more staff. There's DOT. Staff is great. They don't need anybody else. They are doing wonderful. There's so many projects that they're spilling out, and it's so beautiful to see. Everyone is very excited. But then there's other agencies where they're kind of struggling to maintain with the several projects that they're juggling, and then continuing to let out these newer projects that are perhaps demands from higher up. And so what I would really like to see is starting to fund training for professionals who are interested in getting into GIS, and then also encouraging young professionals in the field.
I'm going to put you on the spot too while I've got you. So one of the other problems you mentioned was the challenge of finding and retrieving data, because there's a lot out there and it's constantly changing, and even with all of our efforts and a lot of us work on this to make it easier to find, it still becomes challenging. Did you think of some possible solutions we might consider for improving that?
Yes, I think that as we move forward, as we continue to retrieve new data, it would be worthwhile to make sure that we are plugging that in to, for example, like ArcGIS, that online database, so that in the future we're not having to hunt everything down. It's all in one place and can be easily communicated across divisions and across agencies.
I did not prompt her. That's a secret plug for NC Longitudinal Data Service as well. Thank you. Kate, let's turn to you for a second here. Tell us a little bit about how your experience with DIT has impacted the way you think about what you're going to do after you graduate.
Well, so I actually didn't get involved in GIS or data management until college. And honestly, it wasn't until recently that I really understood the full potential of a digital infrastructure, nor did I really become familiar with the community that's working to build the digital infrastructure. And so thus far, with my experience and networking and talking to people that are working so hard to implement these dreams that we have in place, I now see GIS data management as incredibly crucial to my career, especially looking to go into environmental policy planning. I believe that the power behind mapping data, exchanging information, And being able to relay conclusions that we draw from our data analysis to larger audiences in a more comprehensible way is really crucial in the work that we are looking to do. And in addition to that, education, learning, and obtaining the skills that are necessary to implement these actions is also important in the grand scheme of things.
You know, you didn't say it, but part of what I'm hearing too, as I look across the panel, is that there's no wrong time for us to engage with people to think about these paths as a career. So Angelica said that she noted that this was really an eye-opening experience for her, understanding how data and data science is applied in a government setting as a high school student. You just said that you came to this as a grad student, right? And so there's really no stopping point for, what do I keep doing? Am I destroying the stage? There's no line in the sand from when we can stop getting people interested, right?
No, not at all. Like I said, as an undergraduate student, I actually started my time at UNCW with just a major in environmental science. I did not have a minor. I didn't even know what GIS was to a degree. I knew what maps were. But after talking with professors, getting involved in general ed credits, extracurricular activities, I had professors talk to me about GIS, got involved with GIS, then one thing led to another, added a minor in geospatial technology, and working with professors in that division, even further than that, my whole thesis is based around it too. And I believe that it's not just important in the sciences, but the natural sciences, but the social sciences, and across the broad spectrum of environmental, social, and economic change. I think data management, data analytics is just the foundation of it all.
This is a really good lead-in for our final question, and what we're going to do on the final question is I want to ask it of each of the panelists, and I'm just going to start, we'll just go back the other way. So Angelica gets all the time to think about her answer, and Kate's mostly on the spot here. Whether you all know it or not, one of the most important questions for these guys out here is what is it going to take to get you interested in joining the work that they are doing? What is the thing that's going to motivate you to want to join either a state data workforce or regional or local data workforce and apply your analytical skills and your interest to the problems that we're all trying to solve? What would it take for you?
So personally, and I think this would work for any position that I'm looking for, whether it's in the governmental field, nonprofit, or private agencies, I've personally looked for a position that balances almost on-the-ground field work as well as time in front of a computer. Personally, for me, looking at numbers doesn't fuel my passion. And in reality, it's the people and the faces behind those numbers that we're analyzing. It's the scenarios that we're looking at behind the data. It's the people that are experiencing the problems that we're trying to solve. And I believe that human engagement and human perspective adds a whole other dimension to data analytics that a lot of people don't really realize is an important part. They think of data crunchers and they think of people on a computer in a dark room. And look how we are here all together in a very bright room. So that's something that I would like for my employer to prioritize, engagement in the field. Additionally, I would look for an opportunity that offers the ability to grow our skill set, training as well. I would like to work for an employer that uses the most up-to-date softwares and analytical platforms while also fostering learning for up-and-coming technology so we can stay most current and most effective when it comes to the problems we are trying to solve and analyze.
Thanks. Michael, Denise, what about you? What would it take to get us to recruit you into the field?
Absolutely. First, I want to say, Kate, that was a wonderful answer. Absolutely. I agree with all of that. It's going to be hard to one-up that. I think in my perspective, personally, 90% of the job is who you work with. So I would love to hear about your projects, about what you're doing and how do you feel about it, and are you inspired? Because I've seen some of that across some agencies, and I've seen maybe a need for a bit of energy in others. And so I just want to make sure what we're doing is meaningful, what we're doing is for the people, and at the end of the day, what is your why?
William, how about you? You're newer to thinking about this as something of interest. What would it take, though, for us to get you to think longer term about how to get you involved in a career in this field?
Well, I suppose I have a little bit of a different perspective because, as I said, when I first came into it, I really had no idea what I was getting into. I feel that if other people knew about the versatility of data analysis to different fields, they would be a lot more interested in joining in. It isn't even about difficulty, right? Because majors like engineering or health, they still get a lot of applicants. They still get a lot of interest. In fact, when I first applied and told my friends I was going to the datathon, they kind of looked at me and I was like, what is a datathon? Right? And honestly, I didn't really have an answer. So when it comes to attracting more applicants, it's really about marketing, communication, education. If more people knew about what data science was, how can it be applied, especially within government, as you said, I feel a lot of people would be more interested in coming and trying out new things.
All right, Angelica, you let us off, and we're going to end with you. Give us your thoughts here about what it would take to get you to consider this for a career or a future field.
So yeah, I definitely echo everything that the panelists said before me. I definitely agree with William that exposure is really important. Many high schoolers go their entire high school career without ever hearing of data science. And while high school is a little bit early to decide what you want to go into, it certainly is good to know about the options as you're going into college. Same with William. Datathon was my first ever exposure to data science. To be honest, before, I thought data was only used for machine learning algorithms, so I had no idea it was also used in the sense to help influence policy as well.
So I'm going to try to recap what I heard, because I heard a lot of good things that I want to make sure we emphasize. So the first thing I heard was, make sure it's got a human face, that you're allowing me to interact not just with the computer, but with the people in the field and with the work itself. The second thing I heard was to remember that it's a collaborative experience, and that I want to know what my colleagues are doing and how my work influences them and vice versa. The third thing I heard was that there's got to be a little more marketing out there to help us understand the breadth and depth of things that are available. And from Angelica, I heard something similar, but also about making sure that those opportunities to learn about them come earlier and more often, and that you have an opportunity to go in depth to understand how the technology can be applied in ways that maybe you weren't thinking it was possible to apply. I want to thank all of you guys for coming in today, for enjoying our extremely balmy conditions, and for sharing with us some of your thoughts, especially the last thoughts you shared with us here about what it would take to get you interested in applying your skills in a lot of the careers that these guys have open to us. Can we give our panelists a hand for being with us today?